Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tasana, and together with Eva, we're going to concentrate during the following hour how accounting fits in Odoo ERP. So over the last few years, the accounting application has evolved a lot. And not only thanks to the R&D team that became bigger and bigger, but also thanks to our collaboration with accounting firms, because they gave us some very interesting feedback immediately from the accounting professionals themselves. So yeah, we think it's very necessary to take a step back and to have an overview of all the great new features that we have over time, and they're all available in Odoo 16. But before we start, let's have a small overview at the following figures. So this gives you the evolution from 2015 till now, in terms of number of developers at the R&D team and the number of features they released. In 2015, there were only 2 of them. But now, 7 years later, there are more than 36 developers, and with 3 amazing product owners, well, they arrived. And together with 3 amazing product owners, well, they arrived to release more than 788 new features since 2015. And some of them are definitely thanks to the collaboration with accounting firms. We have now more than 500 accounting firms worldwide running on a daily basis all of their customers on Odoo, online, completely standard without any lines of customization. Accounting is available in more than 175 countries, but the most impressive figure on this slide is definitely the fact that since the very beginning, we used more than 3.68 billion of OCR credits. It's really amazing. So yeah, we thought it was time to take a step back. We're going to take the journey all together and go through a typical day of an Odoo accountant. And the very first step is switching from one accounting software to another. Can be tricky from time to time. So that's why in Odoo, we created a dedicated data transfer process. Can you show us how it looks like, Eva?
Yeah, let's dive into our database. And when you are starting with Odoo accounting, the first thing you need to do is go into the settings of the application. And now at the bottom, at the top of the section of the settings, you will have here a dedicated part for the import of all your important data, which is the contacts, the chart of accounts, and the opening balance.
Cool. Well, it looks already amazing, but I think most of the time people are struggling to know what kind of data they can import and definitely how.
Yeah, but no worries with that, because we have out of the box templates for each type of data. So here, if I dive into one of them, you can easily click on each template, and this is what they look like. So you will get first the technical names on each header of the column, so you know what information you need to fill in, and it makes it easy when you import them, because you're going to have, of course, the mapping of the Odoo fields automatically. You also have some comments to help you know what information is inside the column, as well as some demo data to know the format in which you need to fill them in.
Cool. The templates are definitely a great addition, but I guess for the presentation of today, you prepared some figures that we can import?
Yeah, I've already done the contacts and the chart of accounts. I'll just import the opening balance. I'll upload my file here. So let me take my data transfer Excel. So this is the view that you will get when you want to import anything in Odoo. I can easily switch from one sheet to the other within the Excel file, and you can see here all the Odoo fields are matched automatically thanks to the technical names in the columns. All I have to do is test and import, and we're good with the opening balance.
Well, that was easy. Let's take a step back to the slides and have a small recap of everything that we saw. So first of all, we've seen that we now have a step-by-step onboarding process in order to guide you to switch from an existing accounting software to Odoo. And in order to make it very easy for you, we provided templates for every data that we need, like the contacts, the chart of account, as well as the opening balances. And we made it very clear because in the column headers, we gave some explanation of every column so that it's crystal clear what data should be in what column. And depending on the localization you're working on, you might have some additional surprises. Like in France, for example, you will be able to import a FAQ file. In Belgium, we have the possibility to import a Winbox backup. Okay, now that we have our data in Odoo to start with, let's see how we can become a fully paperless accounting department. Because everybody is talking about it, but what does it look like in practice, Eva?
Well, for the second step of our journey, we're going to dive into our documents application. Because here at Odoo, we have no paper anymore because we've hired a third party that scans all our paper mail, it sends it to us through an email alias, and all these documents are retrieved in our documents application within our own database. So here I've already got some new bills, some documents. Let me just process them right away.
Okay, 1 second, Eva, because you went a little bit too fast there. Maybe it's easy for you, but maybe not everybody knows the document application already. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit and say what it can be used for? And for example, I can see you have some workspaces and some tags over there.
Indeed.
What can it be used for?
But basically, your documents application, it's like a local explorer on your computer. However, it's available online. And of course, like each local explorer, you can organize it by workspace. So here I've got a bunch of them. And in each workspace, I have dedicated tags so I can sort out the documents within each workspace.
Okay, cool. I can see you have a fleet workspace over there. Does that mean I'm going to find all your finds over there?
Well, let's find out. You see like a lot of police logos over here. But let's say you want to filter on the finds, okay? So I've got the documents tag here. Oops, looks like I'm missing one of the tags. So I'll just create it right away, add a new tag and edit it for the finds. That way I can filter on those whenever I need. So if you need to put some documents with this tag, all you need to do is select all of them and drag and drop into the tag that you want. And when I click on it, I will see all the finds now available.
Okay, cool. One last question. I can see your finds, but I can see a find of Fabien as well. Does that mean that everybody has access to everybody's files?
Yeah, no worries, because we can, of course, define each workspace with its own read and write access rights.
Okay.
So no worries.
Thanks, Eva. You can go back to the bills.
Yeah, I guess. I told all of you that the first way to retrieve documents is through the email alias. However, there are, of course, other ways to do so. You can first upload the documents available. You can drag and drop from your desktop to the window of the Documents app. And you can also use shared links. So let me show you how these work. I'll just first choose the destination workspace as well as the tag I want to assign on your new documents arriving here. I will click on share, and you can see here automatically I got a URL generated. You can allow even to download and upload, define an email alias, all sorts of features that you can benefit from. I'll just copy, and let me show you what it looks like when an external stakeholder opens the URL. So you can, of course, share this. Whoopsie, I forgot to go and share. Gonna be easier if I want to, of course, use it. So I'll just upload it. So now I can upload, of course, a document. So super useful for your suppliers who will send their bills digitally. And here the interesting thing is that there is no constraint of size for your documents, whereas for your emails, of course, there is. Now, if I refresh my workspace here, I will have one new bill available with the tag new in it. Well, I guess now I've got all the documents. Let's process them.
Yeah.
With the split feature here available, so I can have in one view all the PDFs that I had in my inbox, and I'm going to send them to the different workspaces. I'll just deal with the invoices, the bills first, because these are the ones that I have the most. So I can easily, as you can see, separate the different documents, even if they have multiple pages. I select the ones that I don't want to treat right now, and I even take out the terms and conditions pages because they're useless. I'll sell everything to finance. Here I only got the marketing files and the fine. I'll send the marketing to the marketing workspace, send the fine to fleet. Guess it's another one for me, and discard the terms and conditions. Now, my inbox is empty. All there is to do is go for the finance department to go in their own workspace, process the new bills only, select all of them, and create a bill through the actions dedicated to that workspace. So now what Odoo will do is it will create one draft bill for every PDF that I've created.
And immediately it sends it to the OCR as well.
Yeah, we'll see that in a few minutes.
Yeah, let's go back to the slides and have a small recap. First of all, you saw our amazing document application can be used all together, and thanks to it, you can upload all your documents from multiple sources. So if you have them locally, you can easily drag and drop them or upload them so that they're not stored on your PC locally anymore, but because we're working in the cloud, they're immediately available from everywhere. But it's way more easy to use shared links or the email alias. So that basically if you receive bills by mail, you can just forward it to a predefined email alias and they will immediately arrive in the document workspace. You don't need an additional software in order to split and to merge all your documents because you can immediately do it in Odoo. So imagine you have a huge pile of bills, just put them in the scanner, send them by email to the document application, and you can split them over there before sending them to accounting. And last but not least, of course, we have access rights everywhere, not only on the level of the applications, but also in the workspaces, so that you can make it very easy to make sure that everybody can only see the documents he might see. Okay, now that we have our documents in there as well, let's see how we can spare some time for manual input work. We sent some bills, you sent some bills from the document application to accounting. Let's see the result of the OCR.
Yeah, so let's dive in finally into our accounting application and see what it looks like. So for those who don't know, when you arrive in the accounting app, you will see there immediately the dashboard. Each box here represents one journal into your accounting. Depending on the journal type, you will see different information. Here, we'll just focus on the vendor bill, and you see here I have 7 bills to validate. These are the ones coming from my documents application, and while we were talking, the OCR has run its business, and has already retrieved all the information from the PDF into the bill. So let's analyze that a little bit more. So what can the OCR retrieve from the PDF? Well, first, it would take here the vendor. If it doesn't exist in Odoo, it will take the VAT number, connect to the European VIS database, and find the information, all the information there is to create that vendor in Odoo. If it does exist, though, it will find it based on the name, the address, the email, and of course the tax ID. It can also retrieve the bill reference, the bill date, the payment reference, and even the bank accounts. However, since those bank accounts are created automatically by the OCR, to avoid any risk of scams or phishing, well, now you have the possibility within the contact form for newly created accounts to validate them in order to use them in outgoing payments. So you keep the control on all the outgoing payments from your database. Let's have a look at the invoice lines then here. The OCR will group them by tax rate. So here we have 2 lines because we have no tax applied for a certain amount and the rest with a 21% tax.
I can indeed see that it's split by tax regime, but I can also see, at least I have the feeling, that he provides the right expense account as well for electricity. So how is it possible that the OCR can cover that? Because I cannot see it in the image.
Well, it's true, the OCR cannot retrieve this account or the proper tax, but that's when the artificial intelligence will take over and detect the combination of the vendor and the label of that bill and give you the most appropriate account that you've been using. And it goes, of course, the same way for the taxes.
Okay, thanks, Eva. Last question on this screen. I can see you have the refresh artificial intelligence data. Can you tell us what it's used for?
Yeah, so it happens sometime that the OCR may take another information than the one that you wanted. So let's say, for example, it mischose the bill reference. You can see when I click on the field, it's a bit tough to see, but here it spots the field that it has chosen, but you can change it because you know this information is the right one. So automatically here, the field is updated. However, if it's you who made a mistake by updating it and you want to go back to the initial situation, you just have to reload the AI data and it will go back to the initial situation and give you the appropriate reference. So I'll just have to refresh again and see, of course, the update within my bill.
Yeah, maybe it's because you're on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I guess it's the Wi-Fi issue.
Need an internet connection to refresh, of course.
Yeah, hopefully it works. I don't know.
Otherwise, it's okay. You can maybe just.
I'll just refresh, and but basically this is how it works.
Okay, now that you've sent them through the OCR, can you see how you can easily validate them?
Yeah. So, if you're good with what the OCR has given you, I'll just go back into my bills, and I will select all of them, and I can of course mass process them and post the entries all at once in one click. So by posting them, of course, everything will be confirmed and all the entries will be booked into your accounting. I'll just take a second because I don't know if the internet has got an issue. Let me just...
okay, it's fine.
Well, it's fine, okay. Hopefully it works.
I guess a lot of people are on the Wi-Fi. Okay, thanks, Eva. That was cool, but I saw in all your bills there was one from Coolblue. Sometimes this is for an asset. I don't know if it's the case over here, but if it's the case, can you show us the link with asset management in Odoo?
Yeah. So let's dive into the new bills that we confirmed. So I'll just dive into the Coolblue one. So as I said, the artificial intelligence is giving you the most appropriate account. And here, Coolblue, we often buy some laptops and so on. So the OCR, the AI will give you a fixed asset account. And also the tax dedicated to investments. So everything is automated here. And since we pre-configured the account, when we confirm the bill, we will generate automatically the asset here. When I dive in it, well, not only do you have all the information from the bill, so the amount, the acquisition date, and so on, but also everything about the depreciation method, so the duration and the accounts used. Since we automated the validation of the asset as well, we already have the depreciation board. All past entries here are automatically posted on their accounting date, and future ones will be when the date comes. Why is it interesting here to have not only simple figures, but real accounting entries in your database, even in draft? That's because, well, not only first can you see your depreciation board from here, but in your depreciation schedule report here, when you can see all your assets running in your database, you can forecast the book value of all your assets. So let's say I will choose this financial year because I want to see the book value at the end of 2022. I'll just have to include the unposted entries, and automatically the book value column will adapt based on the depreciations that are yet to come.
Yeah, super easy to simulate, right?
Indeed.
One last question about your vendor bills. I saw there was one for the coffee as well.
Yeah.
What if this is an expense for a previous period? Can I easily accrue that expense on a previous period?
Yeah, no worries, because you can do it right when you have confirmed the bill or the invoice. Because when you are in the journal items tab here and you see the details entry, every time there is an expense or an income account, you will have the cutoff button available here. By clicking on it, you will have this window appearing, of course, where you will choose the recognition date you want. So let's say you want it last year. You get the accrued account, you choose the journal. You can even adjust the amount by percentage or absolute value. Well, here I'll just keep 100%, but you get the idea. What Odoo will do is first, it will reverse the P&L impact at the bill date. So you see here at the bottom, you will have no impact on the P&L at the time of the bill. And of course, book the provision in the recognition date you've chosen. So I'll just create the journal entries. Automatically, these are posted because, again, we love auto posting. And since those are in the past, no worries about this. And if we dive in one of those, you will keep the link with the bill through the chatter of the entry. Of course, it is clickable, and you will dive into the bill again to see it's related to which entry. And of course, in the chatter of the bill itself, you will have the link to both provision entries.
Okay, thanks, Eva. You showed a lot of different stuff here, so let's have a small recap in the slides. So first of all, well, you saw our amazing OCR. We arrive at more than 98% of recognition rate, a lot of time spared for manual input work. And when you want to change this, so basically if you want to learn the algorithm, because it's a complete algorithm, there is no human intervention over here. If you want to learn the algorithm, you just have to adapt, modify, and validate the bill. Because as from that moment, a learning mechanism will come in place and learn the algorithm. And because everybody uses the same algorithm, it's immediately available for everybody. So what if in those 2% rare cases, well, in that case, we're going to trigger automatically a ticket for our developers, and they are going to make a template for that supplier. So the template will take it over from the algorithm. And also there, it means that it's available immediately for everybody that uses the OCR. In every new feature that we develop at Odoo, well, basically automation is really key. You already saw some examples over here. First of all, just by validating the bill, we created the asset. We created all the different accounting entries so that it's immediately updated just by validating, because the OCR has captured the right acquisition account. And also for cutoffs, no need to wait till the end of the year anymore and scroll down all your general ledger in order to know what you need to accrue. No, you can do it immediately while you're processing the bills, and we're going to make sure that the reverse is done exactly on the right date, so that the only time there is an impact on your P&L is on the date of the recognition. We have not shown it over here, but if you're using purchase orders, the OCR will of course immediately heritage the purchase order lines in order to have a full three-way matching principle. Sorry. And last but not least, yeah, as Eva showed, you can work in batch, so validate them all together instead of one by one. Next topic, well, accounting is of course not only about vendor bills, it's way more important also to have a fluid sales process. And when we talk about sales process, the first thing I think about is making sure income is recognized in the right period. And it's even more important for recurring invoicing, right?
Yeah.
Is there something that we have over there?
Yeah, well, if we're going to talk about periodic revenue, let's dive into our subscription application, okay? So if we dive into the subscription app, we're going to see here all our running subscriptions. If I diving into one of those, I can easily reach the related invoice to that sub-sale order. You see here, same as the customer, same as the assets now, here we have configured not an income account, but a deferred income. And same as the asset management, when we confirm the customer invoice, we can generate a deferred revenue automatically.
Yeah, I can see it's in red. Any reason why it's in red over here?
Well, that's because it's in draft, actually.
But why is it in draft?
Well, because you can't predict as easily as an asset what the conditions are going to be, because a periodic revenue can be on a monthly basis, quarterly, yearly, and so on. So I can't go all the way to automate everything.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
If I dive in here, I can still make it easy because I have automated the creation of deferred revenue and I have pre-configured models so I can fill in all the information for the configuration. So here it's a yearly subscription, so I'll choose 12 months. So in one click here, easy to put the duration and the proper accounts. I can compute the revenue to see the revenue board and confirm. And here, again, everything is posted at its accounting date, so future one will be as well.
The records are posted very quickly as well.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, now that we talk about deferred revenue, maybe another difficult topic in invoicing process is also making sure that you apply the correct VAT rates depending on the situation, right? We're a Belgium company over here. What if I have to invoice an Italian company, but with local Italian VAT? Is it possible in Odoo?
Oh, indeed. We have a multi-VAT feature available for a few versions now. Basically, it's easy to automate any tax regime that you need to apply and even get the proper tax ID on your invoices. Let me show you. So if I get into my invoices available here, I've grouped them by fiscal position. So I'll get a few from my domestic Belgian regime. And I've got a VAT number in Italy, France, and other countries. So if I dive into one of those, this is what you'll see. So here we are with a Belgian customer. So I will have a domestic tax rate of 21%, as well as, and it may be a bit small, but on the PDF you see here, the VAT number starts with BE, the Belgian one. You also notice, just small parenthesis here, we've got a cash discount available in our payment terms, which means that on payment terms we can now define a cash discount condition. And for the customer, it's easy, of course, to track the discounted amount they can apply, because at the bottom of the PDF you will get the due date and the full amount, but also the discounted amount available here, as well as the limited due date for that discount to be applicable. Okay, back to our taxes. Let's go into the next invoice. And here you ask for it, so Italian localization it is. So I've got an Italian business here for my client. So I need to apply the proper tax rate for Italy, 22%. And in the PDF, automatically Odoo will print not the Belgian one, but the Italian tax ID. So here I didn't do anything, just configuring my multi-VAT feature.
Super cool. Just automate it like that.
Easy.
Maybe the last step in the invoicing process, also have a look at the follow-up reports.
Yeah, so we have indeed a follow-up feature available, so you can, of course, claim your money when your customers are late. So if I dive into the follow-up menu here, I have a few availables. So I'll start with the first one here. From this view, you can, of course, notice which invoices are late for that customer. You have also information about the status bar available here. So you have the different follow-up stages that you can configure, of course. And you can, of course, have some smart buttons for the customer and the invoices, so you can drill down, because we love drill downs in Odoo, to see the detailed information. Here, I'll just exclude the last invoice before processing, because it's not fully due yet, and I don't want to offend him. So I'll just follow up and process it. So here I get the multiple recipient view because you can define follow-up addresses and multiple ones if you need to. Have the preview of the email. I'll just have to send, and when the email is sent, automatically the follow-up will shift from one stage to the other, and I can go on until this one needs to be dealt with, of course.
Okay.
I'll just deal with this one here. This client, he's always late at some point. I'm just tired of trying to follow up again and again and again.
Just put him in automated.
Yeah, I'll just automate. Right. Okay, so nothing to do here. Odoo will just do the follow-up for me or when it needs to be done. And lastly here, this one, like every time I have to call the lawyer, I'm just so tired of it.
Put him in final notice and maybe warn his salesperson so you know about it.
Okay, yeah, I can shift already manually to the final notice stage if I want to. And yeah, seems like the salesperson is Robin. I'll just send him a message like, hey Robin, your client is late again. Can you contact him ASAP? Thanks. Cool. I guess we're good.
Thanks, Eva. And all of these completely integrated in Odoo, right?
Yeah.
Small recap. First of all, well, we've saw here that complex VAT situations with Odoo can be very easily managed because we have the multi-VAT report in Odoo. So based on the customer, we're going to apply the right VAT and we're going to print the right VAT number on the invoice as well. We're going to see later in the tax reports that also there we can easily switch between all of those. And next, creating deferred revenue is as simple as the assets. Just by processing on the right account, we're going to create the deferred revenue for you so that you can spread it over a number of months. And last but not least, if you don't want to spend time on all those follow-up reports, and you know we can completely automate it, just put all of them in automated. We're going to send the mails with a copy of the bills to your customers. Okay, next step. We created some bills. Let's see how we can easily create a batch to pay them.
Time to pay. Okay, let's dive into the database again. Remember, we had some from vendor bills we processed, so it's time to pay them.
Yeah.
It's easy to mass process the payments as well because we can generate the XML files available in different formats. I guess here we're going to keep to the European format available and register the payment for all of them. I'll just choose the SEPA payment method, create all the payments in one click, group them into a batch payment available here, and when I validate it, of course it will detect if there are any characters that doesn't correspond, adapt it, and I can even validate and get the XML file to submit to my bank platform.
Okay, creating the payments is the first step. Let's see how we can reconcile them with the banks.
Yeah, so well, first I need to talk about the synchronization because you're not going to get to reconcile anything if we don't have any transactions in the database. So you can easily click in the dashboard on the online synchronization button available in any bank journal. By clicking on it, you will see all the connections available. So it means that all the transactions will arrive automatically into the database. And by the way, we have like more than 27,000 connections available with like more than 5 providers, I think, like super like worldwide available. Here it's filtered on Belgium because I'm in a Belgian company, but of course you will see all the worldwide possibilities. Just choose the one that you need, connect, and go onto your bank platform to validate the connection.
Okay, cool. But setting up the synchronization is the easiest step. Let's see how we can spare any time with our smart reconciliation models.
Yeah, we've already created a few items to make sure we can reconcile some stuff. So first, let's focus a little bit on the view. On the left side, you're going to have all the transactions available that you need to reconcile. So easy to have everything in one view. On the right, the current transaction being made, as well as all the open items available here. And if we've got a partner available detected in the transaction, you even get the filters available already in the existing entries. Well, let's start with the first one, and wow. 20,000 expenses for September for Fabien. Do you know what this is about?
Yeah, looks like a huge amount. Can we have a look at what those are about?
Yeah. Let's drill down and view what's inside that expense. Well, lobster restaurant, flights, hotel.
Any attachments there?
No attachments, of course.
Not sure this can be exact expenses, but you know what, Eva? He's the boss.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it. I'll just validate and mind my own business. Okay, next one here is the batch payment that we've received here. I've processed for my vendors. Easy to find all your outstanding batch payments within the dedicated tab here. So I'll just use the one for my vendors, of course. And in one click, we will reconcile all the payments within the batch with the transaction you've chosen. So easy, I'll just validate, and all the bills, of course, will appear as paid now. Here it's a good example of how our reconciliation models work within our reconciliation and what makes possible to have counterparts here. So based on the label bank fees, I can predict the counterpart, choose the right account, so that the only thing I have to do is just validate and mind the rest of the reconciliation. Here another great example, because it's a loan reimbursement and all the information there is within the label for the capital and the interest amount. So again, based on the reconciliation model, I can identify that amount and split it among the different accounts that I need. Here looks like a final balance, but I have no partner, a weird amount. You know what this is about?
No idea. Have you checked the reconciliation process?
No, good idea. So you have also access to the chatter of each transaction through the Discuss tab. And with the chatter, you will have access also to the knowledge application. And by clicking on the book icon, you can see all the available processes that I filled into the knowledge app. So I've got one, of course, for the reconciliation process. And here basically says, if I got a doubt, I'll just put the transaction into check, and somebody else will review it later on. So this is what I'll do. And we're up with the last transaction here. So here it's a partial payment. So Odoo has recognized the invoice, but will only reconcile it partially. If you want to change that and fully reconcile the invoice, you click on the amount, and here in the manual operations tab, you have the fully paid here button available. If you, by clicking on it, it will put everything as the full amount and the difference into an open balance. I just want to go back to the partial payment again, so I can click again and reach the 500 only. And I'm good with the reconciliation here. Just one little thing, if you want to go back to the checked transaction, here remember this is only a filter. So if I take out the not match filter, you will see all the transactions available regardless of their status. And of course highlight the to check ones if you want to.
Okay, thanks Eva. Let's have a recap.
Yeah, let's dive in again.
So first of all, yeah, indeed, you're right. We can now synchronize with more than 27,000 banks worldwide, thanks to 5 different providers we're integrated with. And because you have all the related information in Odoo, it's very easy to create in- and outgoing payments. And because we have the right payment formats, you can immediately export it and send it to your bank without using any of your time. And last but not least, well, of course, synchronizing is easy, but our blazing fast reconciliation screen, well, it's completely based upon different rules. They can be proposed or they can be automated. And thanks to the fact that you can easily drill down everywhere, well, it's crystal clear what you're reconciling with. And you can drill over there, come back without leaving the screen for once. Super easy. And last but not least, but if you create payment batches up front, of course, well, no need to select all of them after when you're reconciling. Just select the batch and you will reconcile all the payments together. Okay, now that we've went over there, again, a lot of information, we put it into Odoo. Let's have a look at what the closing looks like.
Yeah.
And when I think about the closing, the first thing that pops up is how we can make sure that all our expenses and income are accrued in the right period. Eva, if we have some sale orders and purchase orders over here, is there any way we can easily accrue them?
Yeah, so let's dive into the purchase application and more specifically the purchase orders. So you see here I've got some purchase orders waiting some bills. So I've received the goods, I want to recognize their value in the P&L, but no bill yet. So I'll filter on those, and in one click I can create the accrued entry for all those quantities. Here, when you see this view, you can first, well, choose, of course, the account that you're going to use, the recognition date, and of course, its reversal afterwards. Based on the invoicing policy of the products that you've got in your purchase orders, it will take only the value of the ordered or received quantities that you've got, and it will, of course, depend on the date that you've chosen. So easy for me to create an entry here for the different purchase orders, and in one click I've got the provision and its reverse entry created.
Exactly. You showed here for purchase orders. Is the same applicable for sale orders as well?
Yeah. Maybe it's a little less useful because you decide when you invoice the
that's
customer.
for sure.
But if you're using timesheets, though, might be super handful because come in handy because well, it will even take into account the approved timesheet, so you can recognize only the ones that were reviewed by the managers into your P&L.
Okay, super cool. Well, the closing period is not only about accruals. We already saw the multi-VAT. Can you show us how we can easily close the VAT statement?
Yeah, indeed. So let me just, so if we want to go into the tax reports here.
Can we see maybe first, it's only a suggestion, but can we see how we can control the figures first?
Yeah. So let's dive into the reporting section. And I have the journal reports, which is a really useful report for accountants here. So you will get for all the journal items, these are grouped by journal entry and by journal. So if you need to control at the end the tax impact of those entries, you just need to drill down at the bottom of each journal section, and you will get here, and even by country, because we are in a multi-VAT environment, the impact by tax and also by grid. And of course, we can drill down and see what's happening inside those amounts.
Cool. Can you take one step back in a journal report? You can drill down to the items as well.
Yeah.
I believe that controlling statements, accounting entries during the closing process also means to check if they're correct. Can you show us a little bit how we can easily update records if we make mistakes?
Yeah, indeed. So from the journal report, I will dive into the journal items, and you can group, of course, the information the way you want to. So let's say you have it's grouped by account already, but let's say you've made a mistake by using a wrong income account. So I'll just select here for the sales subscription, I'll just change it into the services one. As soon as I select the lines, the fields become editable, so it's not only for accounts, but it's also for the label, for the grids, and for the analytics as well. So if I change here to services, this one, Odoo asks for confirmation, and in one click, all of those are updated.
The mass edit is definitely a powerful feature, but aren't you scared that by changing all of these, everybody can do it? Is there some audit trail behind there?
Yeah, no worries, because even though you didn't reset to draft the bills and so on, everything was tracked in the chapters of every invoice. So if I dive into the customer invoice, at the bottom here, a log note is created to let you know what has changed, who did it, and when. So audit trail is full.
And of course, we take into consideration the log dates as well.
Yeah, indeed. So if you have a log date, of course, you won't be able to make the update.
Okay, well, let's go back to the tax report and see how we can close it.
So we have reminders for the tax reports to be made. So from the miscellaneous operation, I've got the warning here. I can dive in and see here we arrive in the tax report for Belgium. But of course, we are in a multi-VAT environment, so super easy for me here to switch from one report to the other. And for European companies, you're going to be more than happy to have the OSS reports as well. Well, if you want now to close the tax report, all you have to do is click on the closing entry button, and Odoo will compute automatically the entry by balancing out all the tax accounts and put the difference into the current account. It even detects if some controls have failed for the tax report to be made at the end. And when you post, of course, well, it will also add a log date for tax impact, so no mistakes, no risk of making mistakes by recording a bill with a tax impact in that period.
Okay, thanks, Eva. Let's have a small recap again. So, first of all, we've saw that we can easily use our purchase order lines and sale order lines in order to make sure the accruals are super fast. Just select all your sale orders and purchase orders, and we will keep into consideration the invoicing policy in order to create the accrual and reverse it immediately the day after, so that you don't have to do it anymore. And different VAT reports is not an issue in Odoo. If you have Italian VAT, Spanish, French, name it, if you have all the different reports available in the database, you will be able to switch easily between the one and the other. And last but not least, the mass edit is definitely a very powerful feature like we've seen over here, and we keep into consideration even the audit trail of it. So last but not least, we put a lot of data into Odoo. Let's see what kind of reports we have in order to look at the data.
Yeah, indeed. So let's start with the financial reports, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so you can find all the reporting statements in here, of course. Let's start with the balance sheet first. So from here, you can see, of course, the situation within the balance sheet, which is automatically filled in. We have all the filters available, so these reports are dynamic, of course. You can add comparison between previous periods or even the same period last year, and you will even get a variation between the two. We have dynamic colors indicating you inconsistencies within your report. You can even switch from one balance sheet to the other because we have now globalized all the financial reports. The great strength of our reports within the accounting app is that they communicate with each other. So I can easily drill down from one to the other. If I click on the current year earnings here situation, I will get into the profit and loss statement to get the detailed situation of the current year earnings. I can, of course, go further and drill down into each account to their general ledger. And from the general ledger here, even dive into the journal items.
Okay, nice. Well, standard reporting is super cool, but a lot of people need management reporting based upon real accounting data. And that's why we created Odoo spreadsheets. Can you maybe show us how Odoo spreadsheets works based upon analytic accounting, perhaps?
Yeah, okay. So you can find all the analytic items within the accounting view here. So you will get the list view of all the analytics. But to make this intelligible, I want to see those into a pivot view. I've already displayed them in the manner I want to, so by plans, by accounts, and by month as well. Now, if you need extra KPIs, your own ratios, everybody has their own preferences, you can insert this data into a spreadsheet. And the great strength of Odoo spreadsheet is that everything is still connected to your database in real time. So if I create a new invoice now with an analytic impact, it will be reflected in the spreadsheet as well. And as I was saying, the goal of here connecting to the database is that you can, of course, have your own KPIs as well. So let's say I want a budget here of 2,000, and I want to track the ratio between the total and my decided budget. Well, you can see it's super easy to define those and change formulas. And of course, these will adapt based on the new data that we're going to fill in.
Yeah, it will be adapted in real time just by keeping your accounting updated. Last but not least, we understood that a lot of our customers have the same needs in terms of reporting. So that's why we also added some great out-of-the-box dashboards so that basically all the common reporting is already in there. So Eva, can we have a look at those dashboards? And what is very important to understand is that there is no customization of no development needed. It just comes out of the box.
So if we dive into our dashboards application, we have out-of-the-box dashboards ready for you from day one for all of our core applications. So here, of course, I'll focus on finance. You have different ones, accounting, invoicing, and so on. Well, of course, those are dynamic. So you can filter on the information that you see here in purple. So let's say I want to see the country for Italy. I will see the impact within the report, of course. Click again, and you will get the initial situation back. You can drill down to the invoices. So if you click here on the top invoices, you will see the detailed invoices impacted here. And yeah, basically it's up to use right on day one.
Super cool, right?
Yeah, we love it.
Okay, let's go back for a final recap, Emma. Having standard reporting is cool, but it becomes amazing if it's fully integrated with real-time accounting data. That's why we have Odoo spreadsheets, and it's completely shareable and collaborative. You can work together in there and share it with other people. But we made it even more perfect this year with our out-of-the-box dashboards that we all gonna love, and we're all convinced that accountants are gonna use them very much. So I believe we're at the end of the presentation. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for being with us today, and we all wish you a great Odoo experience. Thank you very much. Yes.
See if we've got some
Hello,
questions
guys.
Hey,
Welcome back.
Let's wait for the questions to roll in. Let's give the audience a couple more seconds.
Sure.
Maybe we can start off with some warm-up questions, right? So, how do vendor bills get approved by within procurement limits?
Well, you can define actually a procurement limit within the settings, of course, and whenever this happens, you will need approval. But with the studio application, if you need to get even further, you can hear me? Okay. If you get even further, you can, of course, add additional approvals if you need to for your own specific preferences.
Cool.
Completely right. If I can add on top of there, it's indeed possible with Odoo Studio. With Odoo Studio. With Odoo Studio approvals, to be correct, you can basically set it on all kind of actions. So what is great about the fact of using them is that you can put it on all action buttons.
Yeah,
so you can do it for approval of invoices. You can do it for approval of payments. Depending on where you want them, you can set difficult conditions over there.
Nice. Thanks, guys. So I have a bit more complex question here.
Yeah,
so
shoot.
we have a French company selling to a French company,
Uh-huh.
but shipping to Italy. Okay. Is the tax applied for Italy or France or combination of the
We
two?
have some tax advisors with us today. If you want me to answer, I think the fiscal position, which means the fiscal position will make sure the right tax code is applied, and the fiscal position will take into consideration the country where the goods go. So basically, based upon the
delivery
delivery
address.
address.
Okay, so quite clear.
Yeah, if it's not clear, feel free to come to our stand, to our booth. But I think it's the right answer.
Yeah.
Good, good. If not, somebody gets fired.
Yeah.
So how are prepayment invoices handled and showed on a profit and loss statement?
How can you repeat it?
Prepayment invoices handled.
Do you want to show it?
So basically, you just get an invoice, a new invoice?
The prepayment.
Prepayment invoice? Wait. So the pro forma, you mean?
Yeah.
Ah.
No, the prepayments on the purchase order maybe. To have prepayment? You can start from purchase order
I
and have
guess. Not sure what you mean. Just
instead of having the full bill, you can have a prepayment or something like that.
yeah. I guess you can create the bill any time you want and
Yeah.
have the impact.
I
You
don't
can
know.
already create a
Yeah.
bill, even though.
If that's the answer, you can show already how you can create a partial prepayment. You can
Yeah,
open
I
the purchase
guess.
order and click on the
From there, I don't think it's possible to create
yeah, you
a
can create
payment.
on the create bill.
Yeah, we will be able to create it.
This one is
Yeah,
not
there is no
invoiceable.
invoiceable line.
Can you take
The-
the other one? The other one was maybe better, or it's not foreseen.
This one is available.
Yeah. So here we can. No, it's completely okay.
Yeah, that's why.
Well, anyway, we have the down payments available on the purchase orders, I
Mhm.
would say. And if the prepayment is, the question is about the prepayment, if you receive the payment without having the bill yet, maybe you can show in the bank statement how you can put an amount on a payable account. Of
yeah, indeed.
I guess that it's
Okay.
maybe the answer on the question.
Yeah, so it means if you received a payment without having from your customers. So let me just create a new transaction
Yeah.
right away. Let's say you've received like 200 from your customer. Okay, so let's go with the Anakin again. Yeah, of course we need a label, so prepayment. Here. So if you don't have yet the invoice created, what you can do is assign it on the partner, and in the manual operations tab, you will have the possibility here.
I think you
if-
have to remove the
Yeah,
line
I'll need
first.
to remove the line first, if it's willing to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the manual operation, you have the possibility to choose either put the open balance into a receivable or a payable account. And basically by clicking here, it will assign the account.
I'm not sure if it's the answer, but I think
Yeah.
this is the case. And in that case, it creates the payment, but it will also make sure that if you create a new invoice or a vendor bill on that partner, you will have the banner of
Yeah.
outstanding payments, so that basically you can easily add the payment, link the existing payment on the bill while you're processing it.
Yeah, basically, let me just, I'll create one real quick with the same customer.
Yeah.
And when I, okay, I'll just take it out. I don't know why it's not working. Let me put here, I don't know, somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I have the outstanding debit message.
Yeah, you have the banner, and indeed you can add it immediately over there. So if you
Yeah.
have open amounts on a customer or a supplier, while you're processing the bill or the invoice, you can immediately link it, reconcile it with the payment. Hope it's an answer
Yeah.
on the question.
Okay. When we are talking about PayPal, so is there a way to automate PayPal accounting or receipts in
I think we
Odoo?
can connect the PayPal transactions. Let me check.
No. You mean in the bank transactions?
yeah,
or
I
in the,
think
okay.
We are talking
can.
about payments, so
Yeah, so you went a little bit fast. Maybe it's but it's perfect.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to understand that PayPal is indeed available in so many countries, so you need to
indeed.
select the right term.
Yeah, indeed, of course. so many possibilities.
So first you put it on worldwide, you type PayPal, you will see all the available countries. So basically what it does is that you will have all the statements reconciled immediately over here. At that point, you will have to use a suspense account in order to reconcile later the amount that goes from the bank account. But yes, you can reconcile that way your PayPal transactions.
Okay, excellent. When we are talking about mass updates on journal entries, so can we block certain people from not making a mistake in the whole system?
Well, the answer is no, and the reason why is quite simple. If you have access to edit a single record, why wouldn't you have access to update them in mass? So basically the answer to the question is a little bit different. No, it's not possible, but only if they don't have access to. So if you don't have access to the record, you cannot edit the record. You will not able. You will not be able to update them in batch neither.
Yeah, it depends on the one of the levels, the access right level. So if you have a certain level, you will be able to, of course, adapt all of those in mass processing.
Yes.
Nice. I have a question here about how to manage partial SEPA payments.
It's the last question. Yeah. What was the question?
How to manage partial SEPA payments.
I think it's a very good question. Maybe not for us, but for our product owners and for R&D. Because I think we already have one step now, that we can update the batch if some of the payments didn't go through completely. Now, the next step might be indeed to have some feedback from the batch that you sent. If you send the XML file to the bank, well, it might be possible to recover also the response from the bank in order to update it. It exists. I think we can retrieve the information, but currently not yet. And I'm not sure that it's on the roadmap for next year neither. So I would say that currently it's a manual process, and if the payment was partial, you will have to update all the different payments partially.
Excellent. So thank you guys. I think we are running out of time.
Yeah,
So thanks for your insight, and catch you guys later.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.